You grip the moment and it wriggles free. You reach harder and it steps back into the dark. Wanting tightens, life takes a breath and slips from your hands. You call it urgency, responsibility, ambition. Your psyche calls it a storm you keep standing under while asking why you're wet. You watch your phone like a lighthouse watches a wreck. The screen stays cold, your chest knots, your breath shortens, and the mind invents stories. They forgot you, they replaced you, you said too much. You type a new message and erase it 3 times, sanding yourself down to the safest version. The hunger swells anyway. At work, you push a breakthrough like a stuck door, ramming it with caffeine until the hinges scream. With money, with fitness, with the future, you squeeze so hard the pulse of joy stops. Notice the body when you want. The jaw turns to iron. The stomach becomes a fist. Shoulders rise like shields. Your voice loses music and becomes a drill. You are not living the moment. You are holding it hostage. You can feel how the room changes around that pressure. Friends go quiet. Partners pull away. Even your own thoughts hide behind the furniture. Wanting is not just an idea. It is a physical vice you strap around your life. Ego is the hand on that vice. The ego loves switches, schedules, and levers. It treats life like a machine that should obey. If you say the right words, pull the correct handle, press send at the exact second, the machine will give you love, safety, certainty. But the psyche is not a machine, it is weather over an ocean. Moods roll in like fronts. Symbols rise the way mist lifts from fields at dawn. Some days are heavy with rain, others are a clear sky you did not command. You can align with weather, or you can yell at it. The first is listening, checking the wind, watching the cloud line, reading the smell of coming rain. The second is fantasy, standing on the shore, screaming at the tide to stop. Your ego prefers fantasy because it feels strong. It hates the humility of seasons. Yet every season in you carries a message, sadness asking you to slow down, anger asking for a boundary, fear asking for a hand to hold while you cross the street. When you clamp down with wanting, you drown those messages and mistake the silence for failure. The psyche speaks in images, a recurring dream where you miss the train, a song that will not leave and ache at the same hour every afternoon. It does not respond to demands. It responds to respect. If you sit quietly, if you breathe into the tightness instead of bargaining with it, patterns start to show. You see how every chase has the same face. You notice that you do not want the person. You want the feeling you hired that person to deliver. You do not want the title. You want the look of recognition you never received. And when you stop lunging, those images step closer and speak. Here is the painful truth. The thing you seek avoids being hunted. We chase love, and it starts running laps. We hunt answers, and they hide behind the nearest symbol. We stalk peace and hear only our own boots in the hallway. The more desperate your footsteps, the farther the echo. So stop, feel your feet on the ground. Listen to the room instead. You'll finally understand when the chasing stops, because the thing you're after has been standing behind you the whole time, quiet, patient, waiting for you to turn around. It is hidden in the shadow you avoid, the anger you call ugly, the grief you disguise as productivity, the need for rest you shame as laziness. Turn and face it. Ask what it wants, not what you want from it. Let your shoulders drop and clench the jaw, put down the vice. The weather will still change, but you will change with it, not against it. And in that turning, understanding steps forward without being dragged. It speaks in a low voice you can finally hear. Stop shouting over your own soul. Stop chasing, turn and see. The persona is that which in reality one is not, but which oneself and others think one is. You learn the mask early. Be nice, be useful, be easy to manage. You practice the smile that doesn't match your eyes, the nod that buys peace, the laugh that keeps the room comfortable. It works. People call you reliable. Inside, something small and true stands in the corner and waits. At work, you wear the badge of the dependable one. You answer emails at midnight so no one can see you worry. You agree to just one more task and stack it on old promises that already bend the shelf. Your calendar looks like a wall of bricks, and you try to live between them like a plant reaching for a slit of light. When someone praises your hustle, the quiet ache still returns. Applause is a rented room. You must pay again tomorrow. With friends, You keep the jokes flowing so no one notices your silence. In love, you play the rescuer, listening for hours, swallowing your own questions. On family calls, you never make waves. You say, "It's fine," and bury the word "no." The mask buys safety. It also taxes your soul. Every time you trade truth for belonging, the bill grows tension in your shoulders, a tight jaw, a tiredness that sleep cannot touch. The persona promises shelter. It is useful on a stormy street. You need a coat to walk through public weather, but then you start sleeping in that coat, showering in it, forgetting your skin beneath it. People love the coat, the cut, the color, the polish. Meanwhile, your real face goes unkissed. The good one, the capable one, the calm one. These titles sound like love, but they are contracts. They say stay predictable and we will keep you. Break the script and we will look away. Under the coat, another theater runs. You paste your unmet hunger onto whatever passes by. Projection is the mind's quick label maker, a roll of mental stickers you carry in your pocket. She is salvation. He is home. That job is the cure. You stick the label, and for a while you forget that the label came from you. You meet someone kind, and suddenly they carry your whole childhood hope. You watch their typing bubbles and feel 12 again, waiting for a parent to appear in the doorway. They cancel plans, and you tumble into a pit that has nothing to do with this week. Or you sit under a new manager and whisper, "This person will finally see me." When they don't, the frustration is older than the office. You scroll past a leader online who speaks with certainty, drape your longing over them like a cloak, and call it destiny. Projections are efficient. They let you feel now what you have not yet grown within, but they cost you freedom. The more you project, the less you relate to what is real. You fall in love with a reflection you designed, then feel betrayed when the mirror refuses to behave. The person in front of you gets smaller as your story gets louder. You keep sticking new labels on old wounds. Wanting, at first, is sweet. It warms you like a heavy blanket fresh from the dryer. You wrap yourself in the fantasy of being chosen, of being praised, of finally resting in a perfect place. The blanket smells like safety. It also drifts over your nose and mouth. You make the love story your oxygen tank, and every small disappointment feels like suffocation. To keep breathing, you perform harder. Prettier words, nicer pictures, cleaner answers. The more you polish, the more breathless you become. There is tenderness in this. You were trying to survive. You were trying to be loved with the tools you had. But the sweetness turns heavy. Need starts to dictate the script. You accept crumbs and call it devotion. You defend chaos and call it loyalty. You pretend not to notice the way your body flinches when a certain text tone appears. The blanket slips over your eyes and you name the darkness, romance. So test it. Stand in front of the mirror and ask, if I take away their approval, does my love collapse? Imagine the boss never praising you again. Imagine the partner who cannot reassure you on command. What remains when the stickers peel off? If what you feel turns to dust without applause, you were negotiating, not loving. Try it another way. Picture a dinner where you say what you actually mean in a calm voice. Does your stomach twist because you fear the withdrawal of warmth? Picture declining the extra project and still walking tall. Do you feel a cold wind across the face because the coat is loosening? Picture staying with someone because the daily respect is real, not because their attention sprinkles sugar on your anxious heart. Love does not require the hostage of your truth. Approval does. False comfort is a clever host. It pours you tea, names you special, fills your calendar, and keeps you slightly weak. True comfort is quieter. It does not need you to hustle for a seat. It lets you breathe. False love is a chase scene that never ends. True love has room for silence, for ordinary days, for you to say no without the world collapsing. This is not an invitation to be hard. It is permission to be honest. Take off the coat for an hour and see if you still exist. Leave the stickers in your pocket and meet a face as it is. Let the blanket warm your shoulders but not cover your mouth. If you can stand there, unapproved, unperformed, unclenched, and still feel your heart, you are ready to meet the real thing. Not a mirror, not a contract, not a rented room, but a life where you are seen without paying for the view. Choose truth over applause. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You think you are steering, that the hand on the wheel belongs to you, yet there is a passenger behind you with a map you refuse to read. This is the shadow. The parts of you you won't admit are yours: need, anger, envy, hunger, tenderness, pride. You push them down because someone told you they were dangerous. You lock them in the basement and turn up the music upstairs. But the basement has stairs. What you push down pushes back. The shadow is not a monster. It is a neglected room. When you were young, you learned which feelings cost you love. Loud joy, too much. Tears, inconvenient. Anger, unacceptable. So you trimmed your branches to fit the family ceiling. You made yourself small where you should have grown, smooth where you should have been textured, agreeable where you needed a voice. The shadow kept the trimmed pieces and waits for you to return. Think of it simply. The shadow is everything you cannot bear to see in yourself, and everything bright you are afraid to claim. It appears when a stranger's success ruins your morning, or when a friend's boundary makes you feel abandoned. It appears when you say, "I don't care," but grind your teeth for hours. Meeting it is not punishment. It is returning home. Your patterns began before you had words. Maybe you grew up unseen, the quiet child praised for not needing anything. You learned to disappear to earn peace. Now as an adult, you crave attention like water, but choose partners who look at everything except you. You call it chemistry. Or you were managed like a project, every hour scheduled, every mistake magnified. You learned safety by compliance. Now you confuse control with love. You schedule your soul and wonder why joy feels like a job. Perhaps you were only celebrated for performance. Grades, goals, gold stars. Affection arrived on the report card. You learned to sprint past your limits so no one would see your fear. As an adult, you are efficient at everything except rest. You date workaholics and call them passionate. You accept crumbs and name them discipline. And when your body protests, you silence it with another achievement, another promise that the next success will let you sleep. None of this is blame. It is whether you walked through as a child and learned to forecast by habit. Those early skies wrote scripts in your nervous system. Today, when a tone of voice sounds like yesterday's storm, you duck or fight or freeze. This is not moral failure. It is memory wearing today's clothes. The shadow keeps the map of those roads, and it will drive until you learn to read it with kindness. Watch your relationships, and you'll see the shadow eating at the table. You chase the distant partner because distance confirms the story you know. Love is a horizon you must run toward. The closer you get, the farther it moves. You measure devotion by exhaustion and call it romance. Or you become the rescuer, sprinting into fires you did not start. Their chaos gives you purpose, and purpose lets you avoid your own emptiness. Gratitude from others becomes oxygen. The silence afterward feels like withdrawal. Sometimes you choose a mirror that hurts. You pick the charming storm, the magnetic critic, the emotional ghost. You tell yourself the chase keeps you sharp, but the truth is simpler and sadder. The hungry shadow has learned to eat from pain. You return to the same table because the menu is familiar, not because the food is good. Every argument is a rerun. You keep promising yourself a new season while watching the same episode. Look closely at the moment before the pattern begins. There is always a small body cue. The micro flinch when a message takes too long, the heat in your face when someone disagrees, the hollow drop in the gut when plans change. The cue is the shadow knocking. Each time you ignore it, you hand the keys to the basement driver, and then you wake up somewhere you did not intend to go, explaining a choice you do not remember making. But hidden in that basement is power you can reclaim. Anger, for example, is not cruelty. It is the heat that forges a boundary. It says, "This is where I end and you begin." When you disown anger, you disown your gate. You stand in an unlocked life, wondering why strangers keep walking through. Desire, too, is not shameful. It is direction. It points at what matters. When you bury desire, you bury your compass and wander in circles, applauded for your stamina while starving for meaning. The shadow also holds pleasure. The right to laugh loudly, to rest without apology, to want what you want without performing a moral dance. When you reclaim pleasure, you become less easy to manage, but more honest to love. People around you adjust. Some leave because they were loyal to your mask. Some stay because they were waiting for your face. Either way, you breathe again. There is a word you have swallowed for years. No. The secret no lives behind your polite. Yes, it produces headaches and resentment, accidental lateness and mysterious fatigue. Every unspoken no turns into a story where you are the martyr and everyone else the villain. This is how the shadow punishes you for abandoning it. Bring the no into daylight. Say it cleanly without a paragraph of apology. The first time will shake your hands. The third time will steady your spine. Now the moment of recognition. Ask yourself, gently, what do I keep choosing, even when it hurts? Say it out loud. I keep choosing the person who will not choose me. I keep choosing jobs that applaud my burnout. I keep choosing silence because I fear the price of truth. Do not argue with the sentence. Hold it the way you would hold a child telling you where it aches. The room gets very quiet. In that quiet, the script loosens. You are not condemned to repeat. Pattern recognition cracks the mask. Once you see the shape of your choosing, you cannot unsee it. The shadow steps out from behind you. No longer a saboteur, but a messenger. It will still knock. Old roads will still appear in fresh pavement, but you will catch the cue, breathe, and reach for a different turn. This is where fate becomes choice. See it, name it, choose anew. In all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. The day breaks wrong. You wake with a weight you cannot name. The mask you have worn for years, the easy smile, the punctual replies, the practiced certainty, slides an inch, then another. Someone apologizes and you do not believe them. Someone praises you and you feel nothing. You wait for a text that never arrives, watching the screen like a window in a storm, and something inside you drops like an elevator with cut cables. You try to hold routine together. Coffee, inbox, shower, commute, but the floor is slanted. The world looks like a set after the actors have left. Lights still hot, props in the wrong places, air too quiet. At work, a promotion lands with the sound of an empty envelope. The title goes up and your chest goes down. You smile for the photo, and behind the smile a room goes dark. On the way home, the city blurs as if it has been crying. Your body knows first. Panic does not ask permission. Heart racing at a red light, hands shaking over the sink. Sleep becomes a door that sticks. When it opens into a hallway with no lights. You wake at 3:17 a.m., as if called by name, and thoughts rush in like floodwater. Stomach knots form a tight alphabet. You do not yet read, a buzzing in the jaw. You ask yourself to be reasonable while your nervous system speaks in thunder. Your body is not malfunctioning, it is messaging. It speaks in images because images bypass your defenses. The pounding heart says, you are trying to outrun something you need to face. The shallow breath says, you keep shrinking to fit rooms that do not love you. The insomnia says, the truth knocks and you won't open. So place a hand on your belly and breathe. Name 3 things you can feel, 3 you can see, 3 you can hear. Let cold water touch your wrists. The fear loosens half a notch heard not solved. Then the desert. No old identity, no new one yet. Days stretch like white roads without signs. Friends ask how you are, and you invent answers that cost too much to say. You sit in your car after errands and stare at the steering wheel as if it might confess the plot. The life you built no longer fits, but the life that fits has not introduced itself. This is the nigredo, the darkening. In old stories, the hero enters a night sea journey. In your story, you enter a Tuesday that never ends. The desert has rules. Drink water, move slowly, do not follow mirages. The first arrives wearing perfume and certainty. A rebound relationship promises to distract you from yourself. Their attention is bright, and for a while the sand turns to grass. Then the old thirst returns, stronger. Another wears a suit and a slogan. You binge work. Projects stack like bricks, and you build a tower so high you cannot hear your heart. You call it purpose, your body calls it hiding. There is also the sacred mirage, the spiritual bypass. You tell yourself you are above anger, beyond grief, already healed. You swap one mask for another, serene, glowing, untouched, but your eyes give you away. Pain pressurizes behind the smile. You float inches above the ground and wonder why you feel untouchable. Bypassing promises light without heat. It leaves the ore untransformed. The task is not to escape night, but to learn its grammar. Hold still. Listen to the symbols. Dreams change when the mask breaks. You miss trains, lose shoes, find strangers handing you small boxes. You keep waking underwater and discovering you can breathe. Write the dreams down. Do not rush to interpret. Let the images cook you slowly, like bread rising in a patient bowl. In daytime, treat symptoms as teachers. Anxiety arrives. Ask what boundary is being crossed. Numbness spreads. Ask what feeling would melt if you were safe enough to feel it. Rage flares. Ask what value was crossed. In the desert of not knowing, ordinary rituals become holy. Wash a dish with full attention. Open a window and let morning enter as if it were news. Sit for 10 minutes and count each breath like beads. Walk without headphones and let the city's heartbeat set your pace. Text one honest sentence to a friend. I feel lost today. You are building a small shelter for the person underneath the collapse. The shelter is not made of answers. It is made of presence. The world will test your stillness. Invitations arrive disguised as rescues. Come over, forget your sadness. Join this project. Prove your worth. Some offers are kind, some are hooks. You do not need to judge them to decline them. Put your hand on your chest and ask, does this take me toward myself or away? If your breath shortens, if your shoulders climb, if your voice rehearses a speech before you speak, it is likely a detour. You are allowed to choose slow. You are allowed to disappoint those who loved your mask. You are allowed to let some plates fall and listen to the music of their shattering. Collapse is not failure. It is reconnaissance of the soul. In the rubble you find pieces you hid for decades. An old laugh, a secret dare, the first draft of a boundary. Brush off the dust and keep them close. On a quiet afternoon, you draw a line in the sand. Imagine it on the floor and stand on one side. On the left is the life of chasing. Applause, certificates, almost love, almost rest. On the right is the life of turning inward. Breathing before answering, asking before assuming, telling the truth in small, kind sentences. You do not need to cross yet. You only need to see the difference. Now choose. Keep running after the text. The role, the glow that ends by dimming you, or turn toward the shadow you met in the last room of yourself. The choice is simple and difficult. You feel the old reflex like a current trying to lift your feet. You feel the new gravity calling you down into your own spine. Choose the gravity. The first step is small. You stop typing a second apology. You do not mean. You close the laptop at a reasonable hour and meet the silence like an old friend. You let the message stay unread until your breath is steady. You tell someone you love that you cannot be what they need and be whole at the same time. The sky does not fall. The air changes. From the dark soil of this refusal, a green shoot appears, the first hint of a self that does not need a mask to be held. You are not done. The night will return. The desert has many doors, but each time you remember the grammar. Listen to the body's images. Respect the slow, refuse the mirage. Keep your feet in the sand until the stars arrive and name you by something older than performance. Choose the inward road. Where love rules, there is no will to power, and where power predominates, their love is lacking. You were trained to win affection like a prize. Smile right, agree quickly. Hide the inconvenient parts and the door opens. Here is the reframe. Love is not the trophy for perfect behavior. Love is the climate that grows when you live in truth. Approval says, be what I need. Love says, be who you are. Approval is a rental agreement with fines for late compliance. Speak honestly and the fee goes up. Change your mind and the landlord rattles the keys. You start furnishing a place that never belonged to you. Love is different. It is a deed in your own name. It invites you to bring the furniture of your life, your messy feelings, your quiet hours, your stubborn dreams, and arrange them without apology. Watch the small ways you worship approval. You rehearse lines before you text. You share wins louder than losses. You shape-shift in rooms to keep the peace. You call it kindness, but your body calls it fear. The fear of being pushed outside the circle. The old definition taught you that belonging has a dress code. The new definition tears the tag off. You belong where you can breathe. Approval says, don't rock the boat. Love says, let the water tell the truth. Approval says, stay the person I first met. Love says, grow and let me meet you again. Approval says, Perform your pain so I feel safe. Love says, feel your pain so you are real. These are choices you live one conversation at a time. Now touch desire and devotion. Desire is not the enemy, it is the spark that points. But when desire becomes a grip, the flame eats the room, clinging fogs your vision. You stop seeing the person and start guarding a supply. Devotion is different. Devotion watches with open hands. It says, I will not steal your air to calm my lungs. I will sit beside your storm and trust your sky. Picture desire as a wave. If you panic, you claw the water and drown in inches. If you float, the same wave carries you to shore. Devotion floats. It breathes. It lets the other be other without turning away. It is not a surveillance system disguised as romance. It is the steady presence that says, I can want you and not own you. Desire takes oxygen when it fears loss. Devotion offers space because it knows that closeness without freedom is a cage. Think of texts that tremble with interrogation. Where are you? Why didn't you answer? Notice the rush in your chest, the tiny siren behind your ribs. That is desire trying to manage reality. Then picture a message that says, I'm here when you're ready. Sleep well. Your breath drops an inch lower. That is devotion trusting the day. Under all of this is the quiet center, not a rigid fortress, a grounded room. Here pain does not drag you by the throat. It sits in a chair and you pour it water. Here joy is not proof you are finally safe. It is sunlight through a window. You feel both and remain yourself. Jung called this alignment the self larger than the ego that scrambles for control, wide enough to hold storms without swallowing them. You reach the quiet center by practice, not performance. Put a hand on your chest when the old hunger wakes. Name what you're trying to rent. Praise, closeness, certainty. Ask if paying the fee costs your truth. Walk around the choice like a house you may buy. Step into the yard and breathe. If the house requires you to leave yourself on the porch, it is not home. Build rituals that anchor the center. 10 minutes of stillness before screens. A weekly hour with your phone in another room while you make something simple. A nightly deprojection check. What sticker did I slap on someone today? Peel it off and return it to your own heart. Bring the reframe to your relationships. Say, I love you, and mean I will not hire you to fix my past. Say, I'm scared without forcing the other to be your sedative. Ask, what do you need, and listen without turning their answer into a verdict on your worth. When they say no, let it be no. When you say no, let it be love. Boundaries are not a door slam. They are the shape of a house where two lives can breathe. Notice how approval panics when you stop auditioning. Breathe anyway. On the other side of that siren is a steadier music, the sound of your life tuning to your own key. From there, love is not dramatic. It is dependable. Less chasing, more choosing. The test is quiet. In their presence, can you be with yourself? If yes, love is present. If not, approval is at work with a clipboard. Keep choosing the center over the costume. Keep choosing devotion over grip, truth over applause. You were never trying to win love. You were trying to rent safety. Let the contract expire. Let the old landlord of your worth rattle the keys. Walk into the deed with your name on it, and furnish it with honest words, steady breath, and attention that never ask you to disappear. Choose devotion, choose the center. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Close your eyes. Imagine a simple room with 3 chairs, nothing mystical. Just 3 seats and your breath. On the left is ego, the planner with a calendar. In the middle is self, the larger field that holds everything without panic. On the right is shadow, the disowned one, arms crossed, eyes alert, carrying the parts you hid to survive. Sit first in the chair of ego. Let it talk. It wants order, plans, certainty. It says, we need to fix this by Friday. It lists tactics, budgets, and alarms. Thank it. Then shift to the shadow's seat. This voice does not care for neat lists. It wants to be felt, not scheduled. It says, I'm tired of being ignored, or I am angry that you keep abandoning me, or I want to risk something before life turns into a hallway of locked doors. Do not debate, let it speak without editing. Now sit in the self. Feel the space widen, like stepping from a stairwell into a quiet courtyard. The self is not a judge. It is a witness. It can hold the planner and the protester without choosing sides. Ask 3 questions. What is the truth here? What is needed now? What is mine to do? Wait for an answer that makes the breath drop lower. That drop is your compass. Name what your shadow wants without shaming it. Use small, clear words, the kind that fit on a sticky note. Rest, respect, recognition, risk. Write them on paper. Put the paper somewhere ordinary. A wallet, a fridge, a mirror. When the old shame starts lecturing, say, wanting respect is not arrogance. Wanting rest is not laziness. Wanting recognition is not vanity. Wanting risk is not recklessness. Needs are not crimes, they are coordinates. Practice speaking these wants out loud without drama. I want to be spoken to with respect. I need 2 nights this week without plans. I would like feedback when I do something well. I want to try the new role even if I am not perfect yet. Watch how your voice shakes at first. That is old training leaving your body. Keep going. Each honest sentence lays a plank over an old ditch. Boundaries are the shape of self-respect, not the weapons of anger. Imagine them as lines of paint on a playing field. They do not shout. They simply mark where the game can be played. Start with small, testable acts. Say no to the last-minute demand that would wreck your evening. Offer a counteroffer. I can take this tomorrow by noon. Renegotiate roles at home. I will cook Monday and Wednesday. You'll handle Tuesday and Thursday. Replace vague resentment with clear agreements. When someone pushes back, breathe. Boundaries are not a courtroom. You don't need to argue your right to exist. Repeat the line gently. If needed, repeat again. If the other person escalates, lower your volume and remain steady. Your nervous system will want to sprint. Stay seated in the self's chair, even while standing in your kitchen. Boundaries become believable when your tone is calm and your actions are consistent. Anchor these changes with simple rituals. In the morning, write 3 pages by hand without stopping. Let the mind empty onto paper like a faucet finally turned on. If 3 pages are too much, write 1. If words don't come, draw arrows or make lists of small truths. Then sit for 10 minutes and watch your breath the way you would watch an ocean at dawn. Nothing to force, everything to witness. Notice the first impulse to grab your phone. Return to the breath. In the evening, do a deep projection check. Ask, what did I stick on someone today? Maybe you pasted your fear of rejection onto a friend's short reply. Maybe you turned a manager into a parent and then resented them for not reading your mind. Peel the sticker off and place it where it belongs. Your chest, your history, your unfinished conversation with yourself. This is how the shadow stops driving from the back seat. You acknowledge the passenger and take the wheel with both hands. Relate without the hook. In conversation, ask and then actually listen. Let silence do some of the talking. Share a need without threat. When we cancel plans last minute, I feel unimportant. Could we set clearer commitments? If they answer defensively, do not chase their approval around the room. Stay with your experience. Integration means your worth no longer swings on someone else's nod. Practice saying what is true without the weather of anxiety around it. I'm not available tonight. I want to slow down this relationship. I need time to think. Watch how respect often grows when you stop negotiating your boundaries like a sail. And when respect does not grow, let distance do the teaching that words cannot. Reclaim power in tiny doses. Big transformations are built from small, repeated choices. Choose food that keeps your mind clear instead of loud. Choose sleep as a daily truce with the world. Choose to look at your money without flinching. Give each dollar a job that matches your values. Choose time on purpose. A walk at lunch, 2 pages of a book, 10 minutes to stare at the sky and remember you are not a machine. Track these wins. Keep a simple ledger. Slept 8 hours. Said no once, told the truth twice. Walked 15 minutes. Wrote 1 page. Trust grows when you keep promises to yourself, not when you recite slogans. The self doesn't need grandeur. It needs proof. Small, living proof that you will not abandon it when old fear knocks. Expect setbacks. Old patterns will call from familiar numbers. You may answer, that is not failure. It is feedback. Return to the room with 3 chairs. Sit in ego and plan 1 different move. Sit in shadow and let it say the thing you silenced. Sit in self and wait for the breath to drop. Then take the next small step and the next, as if you were walking a dark path that reveals the ground one square at a time. This is empowerment in Jung's sense. Not a costume, not a roar, but a steady friendship with the parts of you that once scared you. You become less dramatic and more decisive, less eager to be chosen and more willing to choose. The world does not become easier. You grow stronger shoulders to carry it without collapsing into someone else's story. Name it, hold it, choose it,